Tune in for a cleaner future with Pollution Evolution.
We are your hosts,
Faith
and Kimberly.
Hello, welcome to episode 14 of the pod. If you would like to follow us along on this journey, you can tune in to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts from, because today this is actually going to be the end of our first season of Pollution Evolution.
So today we are going to be doing another free-form episode. So we don't have a script today, and we are going to be talking generally about air and water quality and just do like a little recap of everything that we've talked about this season.
Yeah. To get started, we want to introduce air and water quality very broadly. So water quality refers to the ability of a water to meet standards set for that specific use. So in the most simplest terms, if we're looking at water quality standards for drinking waters, and we're going to look to the EPA and local governmental agencies for those standards and what clean potable water actually is and means. Mm-hmm. But if you're using water for industrial use, those standards are going to look different. So those water quality standards are going to change depending on the various use types.
Mm-hmm. So air quality, on the other hand, relates to exactly how much is in the air of anything. So the total amount of pollution that is present in the air. In order to have good air quality, you would typically look at the air quality index and want that to be a low number. And a good air quality index would indicate that there is not very much pollution in the air or particulates, including pollen.
So...
I don't even know what to say right now.
Okay, you know what? Let's just talk.
Yeah, fuck this.
Okay,
let's talk about things that we learned in school that, stuck out to us.
Yeah.
And then, let's just have a conversation.
Yeah, so, I think one of the biggest things that I took away from university and water quality in particular is how different the standards could be for some things. And what I mean by that is when I think about the fact that lead has an MCL set to it, but there's no real safe level of lead, Mm-hmm. And I always wonder, even with regulation, and it is good and it has changed and made things for the better, I feel like we still have so much work to do, especially knowing the effects of these things, knowing how lead can harm the public.
At any level.
Yeah, literally any level. And I think about the fact that my godson literally has lead poisoning before the age of 1. Mm-hmm. And how so many children grow up being exposed to these things, and then lead poisoning can cause a lot of mental health issues, a lot of violent tendencies, lower IQs, on top of the actual physical health problems. Mm-hmm. And I always wonder how many children have been written off for their behavioral issues, or how many people have been written off because they're deemed poor or bad by society, but mm-hmm. it's because of the pollution they were exposed to at a young age. And I just think it's really unfair, and it makes me really sad how pollution has not only affected just the environment, but we're seeing it affect so many complex things. Mm-hmm. And there's just not really much work that's being done to address it.
Yeah, and I think for me, one of the big things that stuck out to me is our professors are very adamant on showing us real world examples of what pollution's impacts are on people.
Yeah.
We learned about London smog. We learned about the
Love
California
Canal.
Accident. Yeah, Love Canal.
Denor, PA.
Mm-hmm, DuPont, all these things. And I remember watching all of these things, and at the core of everything, my question always remained, how could we let our greed for money get in the way of our caring and empathy for other people? Mm-hmm. Because, in almost, every pollution story is, synonymous, somebody was in it for the money.
Yeah, always. It's always, to push profit, to push industry. And it's just at what point did people become dollar signs to you? Because I feel there's that risk assessment almost of there are people are aware, since the 70s and 80s, these fossil fuel companies knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And these people are aware. They have very highly intelligent people on their staff to cover these things up. Mm-hmm. And they put a price value on the citizens of those places.
And I think like something, I don't know if you've ever brought this up, but whenever we were in undergrad, we were part of a scholarship program that brought on guest speakers occasionally. And one time there was a guest speaker that came, and Faith and I were like the only environmental engineers in the scholarship program.
Not ever, but like in the
like
program.
at the time.
Yeah.
And so we were sitting there, and like they had been given their presentation, and it was time for questions.
Yeah.
And Faith asked, like, would you ever hire an environmental engineer?
Yeah, or I said, like, would you hire us, and like what potential role like could we come into? Because just to preface, guys, environmental engineering is a subset of civil engineering. Like, it is obviously like its own discipline and category, but it's like an offshoot of civil. So a civil engineering company would also require certain environmental aspects, especially in drainage design. We know how to do that. We can design really good sewer systems.
Drainage also meaning those like huge dips in the road that you like hate driving over.
Yeah, that's drainage. Or like even on the side of the road, if you see those ditches, when they're filling with water, that's environmental engineering. Those are like very practical uses. And environmental engineering is very practical. Like literally without us and our discipline, I don't think that the world would have the level of sanitation, hygiene, or cleanliness it has today. We're literally like the reason people aren't drinking poop in their water anymore.
Like we literally learned that it was in like small villages whenever there was an outbreak of I think cholera because there was sewage in the streets.
Yeah, because people were there was no sanitation system, there was no wastewater infrastructure,
and that's when they learned like, hey, we need environmental engineers to actually clean this up, to give us a way to not only clean this up but actually put all of that waste somewhere, like do something with this.
Exactly. And so like coming back to in that time, me and Kim kind of had that point of view. So I was like, oh, like it's a civil engineering firm. I think that this would be a really great opportunity to learn more about this new field that I'm entering, because I believe we were only in like our second year of college, so we were still learning. Like we hadn't really taken any environmental engineering courses at that point. That was in our later on in the semester in our college careers. And so I really thought that that could be an opportunity to learn more and grow. And instead, we were met with derision. She laughed at me and said, oh, I would never hire an environmental engineer. And then goes into a long rant, essentially saying that having regulations and things to protect the public are dangerous.
Like it was like a waste of her money and a waste of her time, like essentially. And everybody in the room just started laughing.
Yeah.
Like,
and I remember like at that moment, I was just like, I don't think they understand the gravity of what we do at all.
Yeah.
And that's why I think pollution evolution was really started, because those were the mentalities that we faced, and we've learned that the best way to face that is to show people like this is the importance of it. This is why we need environmental engineering, environmental scientists, hydrologists, atmospheric scientists, because we're kind of the last thing that stands between total planetary devastation.
And like even saying whenever we were in our engineering program, I don't know how true this is for like every program, but for our program at least, like it felt as though the environmental engineers were very looked down upon. Like everybody was just like, you guys are wasting your time here. Like I had men coming up to talk to me every single day telling me that I needed to change my major because women were more suited for social work fields, women belonged
which is like
at home.
disgusting. Like social work is a very strong field, and to use that as a way to belittle both the people in the like in that discipline and women, just disgusting. We love our social workers. They literally help so many people and do a very meaningful job.
Yeah, and I don't think that anybody should be put in a box because of who they are. Like, you are allowed to pursue whatever you want to do. And, like, going to college where we went, like, it wasn't really like that. Like, it wasn't until we taught one of our classes, essentially, that people started to actually respect us.
Yeah.
And, like, I think that that goes to show, like, anything having to do with the environment, with the climate, like, nowadays it's very like I feel like it's always
divisive.
It's always been divisive. Like,
yeah,
it's always
since
been a
the
point
90s, the 80s, the 70s, like, and it's just sad because when like things are facts. Things are facts, and I think that a lot of people have decided that facts and like laws are questionable and can be questioned. And I'm just like 2 + 2 is 4. We don't question that. And the earth is warming at a rapid rate. That's not to be questioned, but people are questioning it, and it makes it so difficult for us to be able to really do our jobs and disseminate this information, because before we can even implement any of the strategies, we must change the entire public's opinion.
And it is true, because like I know that there's a lot of environmentalists out there, but I also know that like if you're like us, like sometimes you look around and you're like, there's nobody here, like there's nobody helping, like it feels like we're alone, because like we are such a small minority in this world. And I know that like nowadays, especially, like that is growing, like that population is growing, like people care about this planet, especially like the younger generations. Like this is their future, like their future is literally on the line. So like I think that it's always important to like say, like, you know, it may be hard, like being an engineer is by no means easy, but it doesn't mean that it's not doable, and it doesn't mean
possible.
that you shouldn't pursue it, like regardless of who you are. Like don't ever put yourself into a box like to pursue anything. Like if you want to open a bakery and you want to like if you want to open like, I don't know, like a library, or like just like pursue your dreams, because it's honestly like life is way too short, and in the climate that we're living in, like, you know, like obviously always do your part, but always do your part for yourself as well.
And like do things that spark joy within you, because I feel like so much of our lives has been stripped away from us, like our joy, our ability to be happy. And I think that like even if things are hard, if it is your passion, pursue it. Even if like people question you or think you're crazy, because like they questioned us, they thought we were crazy, and like it literally took almost 4 years of hard work to change their perceptions.
Now I have people that used to talk bad about us like messaging me and being like, hey, can I get your insight on some stuff? And I'm like, you know, like I don't hold grudges, because I'm like, you know, I understand that you understand now, like you shouldn't have been talking like that. But it's also like it takes everybody like growing and realizing, like, just because somebody is doing something that you don't understand doesn't mean that it's wrong. And I think that can be said for a lot of things going on in this country right now.
I 100% agree. I like I was having this conversation with my therapist. Guys, go to therapy for struggling. It is life-saving. But she was telling me that a lot of people, fear is like their biggest driver, and not even like a hatred. It's like a fear of the unknown, a fear of like not being in control. And I think that's why a lot of times we see, especially like with the environment, like people are probably terrified to have to face the true reality, like of what's actually happening to our planet. And I think that that's why a lot of them operate in that place of fear, because it's like, what's the other option? Like, accept this reality and have to live with it, or like deny it and live in peace.
And I think the biggest thing is like recognizing, regardless of who you are, regardless of where you are on this planet, like you are not alone. Like you have two people right here who are fighting for you. Like, you know, we may not be doing, like, we may not have money and we may not be doing everything, but like we're doing as much as we can. And like even like, I'll say this for anybody out there, like, since it is our last episode of the season, like I feel like it's worth noting that, like, if you feel like we're saying about pursuing your passions, like if you know something, you know, now is an amazing time to actually start a podcast, start a channel, like just talk about what you know, like like inform people, because information is becoming less and less available everywhere. And it's very important, like even like especially to our people like outside the United States, like you obviously know some things that we don't know. Like my husband, like he grew up in a different country and he has a way better education on some things than I do. Because like the education, like you guys have to realize, whenever you grow up in a country, obviously the education is going to be a little bit biased towards that country, but when you gain perspective, like we are all in it together.
When you get that global perspective, because I think that like obviously you're gonna learn history through the lens of the land and through the lens of the geography, but ultimately we're all connected. Like we always talk about, pollution travels, well, so do people. And like we are only divided by these man-made borders, but everything that affects us in one part of the world we feel everywhere else. And I think that's why, as Kim was saying, like this is that time to speak out if you see something. Like there's a lot of hurt going on right now, there's so much suffering, And not even with the planet. I mean, the planet is crying out. We see it in the storms, and we see it in the forest on fire. Like, we see the earth saying, like, this isn't right. And I feel like now's the time to speak out and, like, let your voice be heard and use social media to get your voice out there. Like, me and Kim started this podcast, like, wanting to educate, but also, like, we didn't know what we were doing. We were just like, we're gonna figure it out. And now we're 14 episodes in, and, like, we've discussed so many topics. Like, we literally hit on so many different pollutants, activities, historical events, and this is a way to give free information. And I think that, like, you guys can take our example and go with it and, like, start your own journey, speak your own truth.
And I think it's also worth noting, like, every one of these episodes, like, we do not know everything that we've been saying. Like, we've been researching, and, like, I feel like it's been an amazing opportunity to learn more, because as we get older, once we graduate from, like, whatever institution we're at, like, we inherently, as humanity, stop researching, we stop reading, we stop learning so much, because it's, like, it's not available as actively. And I feel like it's always important, like, regardless of how old you are, like, this in Emerald College, like, this past spring, there was an 83-year-old man that graduated, and, like, I've seen the video circulating everywhere, but it reminds me, like, it's never too late to start doing what you love.
Yeah, exactly. It's never too late. Like, I feel like a lot of people get told very young that they can't pursue their dreams, and, like, we're here to tell you that, like, it isn't too late to pursue that knowledge, get that degree, go for that goal. Like, you can literally change your life. You can wake up in the morning and decide, like, I think I want to be an engineer today. That's what I did.
Yeah, or you could be like most everybody in college who changes their major.
Yeah, at least once or twice.
Yeah, and, like, why is it acceptable for us to change a major in college but not change your career once you're already out of college, you know? Like, don't ever, like, let yourself think, like, oh my god, like, I'm not doing as good as so-and-so or so-and-so, because, like, at the end of the day, you are doing the best that you can. And I think that it's always worth noting, like, regardless of what happens, like, especially now more than ever, I think it's important to pursue your dreams, you guys. Like,
yeah, we have free will.
Yeah, and, like, honestly, it is scary living in the world that we are living in right now, and I know that a lot of people can say the same thing. Like, regardless of where you are in the world, like,
there's a lot of pain.
There's a lot going on, and it's really hard to stomach a lot of it. And I feel like the biggest thing is, like, finding joy in what you can. And I know some people are like, you'll never get money by following your dreams, but, like, look at us, you guys. Like, I'm not saying we're, like, rich beyond means, but, like, we're blessed
though. Like, and it's not even about, like, the financial thing. I mean, listen to our background, for goodness sake.
Yeah, like, we literally, like, we did not come from rich families. Like, my parents are middle class. My mom came from Mexico, for goodness sake. Like, it's like we literally fought our way to get here, and, like, we are still fighting. Like, obviously it's always an uphill battle, but, like, it's worth knowing that regardless of what happens, like, you shouldn't give up on your dreams. Like, it's never too late to try out something, and just be willing to be yourself authentically, regardless of who that is.
Yeah, 100%. And, like, with that, I just want to thank you guys for following us along on this journey for pollution evolution. I can definitely, like, say that this has been life-changing, and, like, getting to connect and, like, seeing you guys from all around the world, every single listener, we made note of you, every single one, and, like, to see you guys, like, interacting and be excited and, like, learning this information, that's all we want. And, like, we are going to continue to provide free open access to all of our resources and all of these episodes, and we're coming back. Season 2 is planned, and we will be coming back in fall of 2025.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for us. If you miss us, just go watch our other videos.
Yeah, and, like, follow our Instagram at Pollution Evolution Podcast and our TikTok at Pollution Evolution.
Yeah, and we really hope to see you next season, and thank you to everybody. I'm sorry this turned into more of a pep talk than anything.
Yeah,
like,
we need some Hopium. Yeah.
So thank you for being here for an entire season.
Yeah, and continue to follow your dreams, guys.
Yeah, it's never too late. Bye.